if you want to ask a question, what I suggest you do during the PowerPoint presentation is that you raise your hand. You know how to raise your hand on WebEx, don't you? Just raise your hand, and at a convenient time, I will stop and let you ask your question. At the same time, if you want to type your question, again, use the chat and type your question. And at a convenient time, I will make a break to answer that particular question. Or you can wait until the end of the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, it's best if you don't take over your microphone and start talking whilst the presentation is taking place, as this will be quite disruptive. So best if you either raise your hand or you just type down your question in the chat, right? So is that okay? Is it clear? And another question from me. Um, I suppose you can hear me as I have a response here with a yes. And you can see the PowerPoint presentation which I'm sharing. Is that true? Excellent. Thank you, guys. Okay, so let's make a start. And hopefully we will have some time at the end for any questions that you may have. You you will have quite a few questions, I'm sure. So the intention of this presentation, the first introductory presentation, is to answer as many questions as you may have through the presentation. Usually what I have are students throwing questions at me on their dissertation, a lot of things. So what I have done, I have tried to incorporate answers to all these questions through the PowerPoint presentation here, which would really lower the Q&A time, and it will put some sort of an order in these questions and in the answers that follow. So what we will be doing today is a module introduction and an introduction to the process of your computing project. As I said earlier on, my name is Nicholas Ioannidis. I'm the module leader. I'm the dissertations coordinator for Roehampton Computing, and I will be your lecturer during this session, and I will be seeing some of you on the Thursdays. Okay, those of you who are in London. I understand there are 3 groups here today, London, Birmingham, and Manchester, I presume. So you're all welcome. Okay, so the seminar on whenever the seminar is taking place, it's on Thursday afternoon in London. So you will be seeing a different tutor depending on where you are based. So what are we going to cover today? We will look at the module itself, the rationale behind it, what it contributes to your program, why is it necessary to have a dissertation module, what do you expect to learn on the other side of it. We're also going to look, well, we're not really, but we're meant to be looking at the module stuff. I'm not sure who will be taking you during your seminars, but I can find out anyway. So, and some contact details. Then we will look at the teaching plan. What themes will be taught during the 10 contact or lecture sessions that we have, as well as what will you be doing in the classes on Thursdays, London, perhaps different days in other places, Birmingham or Manchester. We're also going to look at the timeline, what you need to do when you have to submit something, dates, what you have to submit. We will also look at your assessments, and then we will talk about the topic that I would expect you guys to choose. I will not tell you what topic you're going to be working on because I expect you to undertake a self-reflection on your capabilities, your education, your skills, your career aspirations, and come up with a topic which will help you in your career aspirations. Okay, so for example, if you want to become a penetration tester, perhaps it would be best so that you can gain further experience, further understanding, and somehow prepare yourself for a career in cybersecurity, um, vulnerability assessment, whatever, if you were to work on a project which focuses on these aspects so that you can be better placed when you apply for such jobs. So if you were, for example, to your dream is to become a penetration tester, and then you choose to do a topic on user interface, quality of user interface, etc., on whatever, then that may not be the best option, right? If you want, for example, to go into programming, yeah, then come up with a topic which will involve the skills that you want to gain through programming. Okay. So we will talk about all these. Then we will have a couple of slides on critical success factors, how you should approach your project, what you should do, when you should do it, how you should do it, who you should allow to interfere with your efforts on your dissertation. Then we will look at the responsibilities of students, supervisors, and what you should expect during supervisory meetings and what you should not ask for, not expect during supervisory meetings. For example, it is not the job of the supervisor to explain how to use the Harvard referencing system. You should know this by now. And if you have any doubts, then you need to contact ACE. Yeah, contact the ACE team. You should not expect your supervisor to check your English. If you have a doubt, concern about your English, then talk to the appropriate team within QA, right? Um, and also academic misconduct. Academic misconduct has been discussed on many, many occasions during your studies in the last 3 or 4 years, depending when you started. It is still, though, an issue, and Roehampton University is pushing us to ensure there is no such thing taking place. And you will find out that for even a 10% similarity, you may find yourself losing marks, right? Then we are going to talk a little bit about what you are due to do on the seminar midweek. Okay, so we're going to try to cover all these things. So starting first of all, and looking at the first or the second sentence there, required to conduct a substantial piece of independent research and development work, right? Now, if you compare now dissertation with all the other modules that you have taken during the last 3 or 4 years studying for your BSc in computing technology, you will find out that for every single module apart from the dissertation, you are all being taught the same things. You are all working on the same things. You are all working on the same assessment. You are all doing similar things, very similar things. So, how does this differentiate amongst you? So, if an employer, let's say you guys send your CVs to an employer and there is no dissertation there, your dissertation is the employer is going to look at the CVs and is going to say, oh, all these people have the same degree or a similar degree. All these people attended same modules or similar modules. How can I differentiate between one or the other? What is it there that will make me choose one candidate instead of another? And how do I know what is the strength of a candidate against another? It's impossible. So when you consider the fact that we have so many hundreds graduating, so when we have, let's say, various hundreds, several hundreds of students graduating every single year from QA, And QA is not just the Hampton Computing, it's also the Solent Computing, it's also the Ulster Computing, it's also the Northumbria Computing courses. Yes, they're all similar. Yes, they have a different name, but yeah, they're all similar, more or less. So what is going to differentiate one against the other? It's the actual dissertation. Because the dissertation should be what it is that you are going to choose based on your strengths and enhancing the specialization that you want to gain and the direction you want to follow for your career aspirations, right? So this is going to differentiate, make you more attractive than the person who sits next to you to an employer, right? But then you're going to tell me every vacancy that is there, they want a 2-year minimum experience. And I'm only a graduate. Where am I going to find this 2 years experience? But remember, the same applies to every single person. Even though somebody may be the CEO of a company, at some stage in their lives, they also were graduates and they had absolutely no experience. So how did they overcome this issue of no experience when every job they apply wants 2 years of experience? Well, in actual fact, you need to see this a little bit in a little bit smart way, because the employers pay for their recruitment departments, their HR departments, human resources. And they don't want the human resource departments to be overwhelmed with applications. Okay, that's why they make the vacancy, the text within the vacancy, tough. Can you imagine if you were to run a company and you wanted one person with a background in computing, with a degree in computing to work for you, and you were opening up a vacancy, graduates welcomed? Have you any idea how many thousands of applications you would get? A large number. And then how can you find that one person who would be the right person for you to employ? Everybody has similar CV. Nobody has any experience. Yes, they might have worked as a waiter or a cleaner or a cook or a chauffeur, but that's not what you want. Even though all these jobs, as we're going to see later on, have a significant input in who you are. We'll talk about this in a second. They will, when they say 2 years experience, it doesn't mean that they're not going to employ somebody who does not have any experience. So you must make it easy for them to choose you. You will have to make yourself attractive. So let's say you have this company that, let's say that there is this company that you admire and you want to work for them. The way to go about it would be to go and look at their website, familiarize yourself with what it is that they're doing, what are the products or services that they're selling, what things they do there, and also look at their career pages and try to identify what vacancies they have and the vacancies that you would see yourself suitable for those, or you would see yourself attracted to those vacancies. What are the skills that the company is looking for? What are the soft or hard skills that they're looking for? What is the knowledge that they're looking for? What is it that they want from the person that they intend to employ? So what you do, you come up with your own project suggestion, which focuses on what it is that the company is doing and what it is that you say you will do relates to what it is that this company would want this applicant to do. So you spend 2 semesters on this, and then you apply, and then you're no longer that person which is identical to everybody else. You're only the person which is identical to those who have specialized for that particular position. And that immediately makes you attractive to the company. Whether you have 2 years experience or not, it becomes irrelevant. What becomes important is that you spend 6 months during your studies working towards a dissertation which has the skills that they're looking for. Okay? So you need to be strategic. And that is why the dissertation is an independent part of work. You doing what you want to build on. It's a big stepping stone in the right direction, right? As far as this is concerned, this module is concerned, the dissertation, which I use interchangeably, whether as a dissertation or as a project, it's really a project. It is really an applied project. It is really an applied project which focuses on solving a specific problem. And I will give you some examples shortly when we come to the right point in the presentation. So it is an applied project. Okay, you're not going to develop a website. You don't need to be a near enough graduate in computing to build a website. Right now, you can get a template, whether it's WordPress or any other, and you can put it together. Spend 20 minutes, you have your own website. Okay, put some text, put some images, it's done. No, no chance. But if you say, for example, you're going to enhance your programming skills and develop something which could be an online platform, not a website, then I would consider whether that is viable for your dissertation. Okay. It will come, I think on week 5, you will have to submit a suggestion, which I will look at and I will give you feedback based on that suggestion for your topic. And if it's okay, I will give you the thumbs up and I will tell you, yep, go for it, start. But if it's something which is not appropriate for a level 6 BSc in computing technology dissertation, then I will tell you straight on, no, this is not good and is not going to be accepted. The worst part would be to find yourself working on a topic and submitting the topic, and then when you check the outcome, you find out that this is inappropriate for a final year degree dissertation, isn't it? So you want to work on a topic which you know is appropriate. And I will tell you that before you start working on it, right? Or I could tell you modify it or incorporate some other aspects, right? We will come to that. So here it is that you are expected to work independently during the second semester. This is a double module starting now. With the end of it, let's say in January, where you submit the proposal, and then you start in February, I think, whatever date that may be, with the actual dissertation where there are no classes, there are no seminars. It's just you and your supervisor on a one-to-one online, unless you want to request from your supervisor that they meet you one day that they're on campus. Okay. That's what, and I'm only talking about this module. I'm not talking about any other module, right? So this semester you have 3 modules to attend. Next semester, you will have 2 modules that you take normally with classes. And the other one, the last one, the third one, is going to be the dissertation. Okay. So when I'm saying, please, let's be clear about that. When I'm saying that your dissertation will be, you're going to have something like 5 or 6 30-minute online sessions, one-to-one, you and your supervisor and nobody else. I am only talking about the dissertation module. Okay. So let's be clear about that. The module also intends to enhance other skills that you may need in your professional career. For example, develop your communication skills, time management skills, writing, analytical, researching, problem solving, innovation, creativity. All these are part of the package. Of course, they will be different for every one of you because that will depend on the direction of your project, but at the same time they will be the same because we expect you all to develop these skills, right? So the dissertation is a systematic study of theory, principles, and application of various subject areas which relate to computing with the intention of solving a particular problem. And you could see here that you could choose the specific area to be any of those, if not many more, right? You may choose, for example, to work on artificial intelligence or on IoT or on algorithms or on whatever it is, networks, cybersecurity, project management, whatever it is. You choose the area, right? And again, enhancing soft skills, transferable skills. If you are able to think critically, which is what it is that we expect from you at the end of your dissertation, you will find out that that is a skill that you could use in any situation. If you're able to analyze things for your dissertation, you will find out that you're able to analyze things in any situation, research for anything, innovate for anything within your remit of knowledge, right? We are also going to touch on issues such as professional, ethical, legal, and social, yeah, and moral issues. In fact, next week's presentation will be focusing on ethics, LSEP, legal, social, ethical, professional issues, right? But why, as a computing technologist or computer scientist or any technologist, engineering, scientific, why do we really need to consider ethics? Well, the whole issue became very important because of what the German scientists were doing during the Second World War and how they treated all the prisoners that they have treated. And what you need to consider here very, very specifically is which one of all those prisoners that the Nazis were experimenting on gave their consent to the Nazi scientists to experiment on. Not a single person did. Not one of those prisoners actually gave permission. Yes, you can experiment on me. Yes, put me in that chamber and pump up the gas to see how long I'm going to last. Nobody said that. So the approach was unethical. And based on those crimes, the international community came to the point of saying, okay, we need to be sure that any research which takes place in any discipline has to prioritize on the person who is experimented upon. And this you must take into consideration for your dissertation, as well as the rest of your professional and why not your personal life, right? If we take into consideration, for example, that the scientists who developed the nuclear bomb, do you think that scientist intended for that bomb to kill millions of people? Of course not. But it wasn't important in those days to check and consider how would the target audience feel like having a nuclear bomb thrown at them. Yep. How would you feel, for example, if some alien civilization decided to dump a nuclear bomb on Earth? It's not something we get very excited about, isn't it? And we wouldn't accept it, right? So we need to consider professional, ethical, legal, social issues and the implications for our actions when we are developing something. Okay. If we look at the professional aspect, when you join QA, for example, there was a clause in whatever paperwork or contract they gave you, which said you are expected to behave in a particular manner. as a QA student. Yeah, when you're in the classroom, there is some particular etiquette. You operate with a particular intention. You sit down, you let the lecturer talk, and when you want to ask a question, you raise your hand or you wait for the appropriate time. This is professionalism. Okay, and the same happens. Yeah, exactly that. Student code of conduct, which is also the ethical code of conduct or professional code of conduct, is behaving in an appropriate manner, which is accepted by the people which find themselves in that particular environment. Another example is, let's say you want to join a professional institution, let's say the British Computing Society or the Institute of Engineering and Technology. And what you do, you go over there, you submit your credentials, and they say, yep, perfect. But before they say welcome to the institution, they will give you a few more pages and they will tell you, please sign as your intention to behave in an appropriate way, which is deemed by the institution as the right way of behavior. Because if you are a member of that institution, wherever you go, you are representing that institution. So if, for example, you misbehave at some place, what is going to, as an example, what is going to go onto the newspapers? Such and such person who is a member of that particular institution behave in this way. Can you immediately see how um, an adverse impact will this publication will have on that institution? It's not the institution that made you do it, but the institution had the responsibility when they said to you, yes, you are accepted as a member of this institution. Okay. So we need to behave professionally. We need to behave ethically. Okay. So ethically is making sure that whatever it is that we're doing, okay, I'm just reading a message. Okay, so ethically is being aware what impact whatever it is that you do may have on other people. And we're going to expand on all these next week. And the same with legal issues, the same with social issues, social expectations. How is it that we are expected to behave when we are in public? You may find out, for example, that when you're in public, you behave differently rather than how you behave when you're at home. Okay. For example, when you're at home, you may like to walk around the house naked. This is not something that you're going to do in public, isn't it? That's right. Anyway, it's just a minor point there. Now, also, you may intend to undertake some sort of a certification. Maybe you're training for Cisco, CCNA, CCNP, CCIE, whatever, or the AWS or any of the Microsoft. Why then not come up with a theme for your dissertation which will help you enhance these skills to make it easier for you? Yeah, make it easier for you to pass that particular test. Then we have subject-based knowledge and skills to enable you to enter into graduate employment in relevant fields and also enhance your transferable learning skills, right? And support ongoing educational professional development. Let's stop there for a minute. Why do we need transferable skills? Why do we need ongoing educational and professional development? Haven't we learned anything when we're doing our um, degree? I mean, I'll give you an example, right? I'll give you an example. When I was doing my degree, on electronics and communications engineering, computer networking was not an issue. Okay. A lot of things which relate to what we do today didn't even exist. But I remember when there was a few years ago when I applied to study for a postgraduate certificate in education um, within computer science. What they did, they said to me, okay, if you want to apply and be accepted on a course on a PGCE in computer science, then you must have a degree in computer science or similar. I said, I don't have one. I have one in communications, electronic communication engineer. Well, this has nothing to do with computers. Really? So, because when I was studying, I am expected not to learn anything else and stay behind in the past. Is that right? No, is not. And in our field, science, technology, engineering, computing, things move forward in a very, very, very high speed. So if you say, that's it, I finished my degree, I'm not going to learn anything else, the next day, you're out of date. Artificial intelligence didn't exist when I was studying. IoT didn't exist when I was studying. The internet didn't exist when I was studying. Look how things changed. So fortunately or unfortunately, we are in an area, in a subject area where we need to continue learning, right? So these transferable learning skills are skills that are non-specific to a specific area, to a particular area, but we can transfer them. So if, for example, you are an expert on researching, this is a skill that you can use in any area, right? And ongoing educational professional development to monitor and be part of the progress of a specific field that you find yourself to be an expert. So at the end of this module, and assuming you have successfully completed this module, right? So we would expect you to have a very good understanding of moral, ethical, legal, professional issues as they would relate to the IT industry, but also way beyond, right? Be able to create a research proposal, yeah. Be able to show that you have a focus and understanding on research requirements, appraise project management and software engineering practices, and apply them onto your final year project. Be able to plan and write a dissertation which focuses specifically on the topic that you have chosen to work on. Be able to undertake independent research. Read widely. Yes, well, it doesn't matter what topic you choose, you will have to read widely, right? And be able to critically reflect on what it is that you're reading, right? Um, Engage in a sustained piece of individual work. Okay, this is going to last 6 months. It's not something that is going to last for 2 weeks. It's not something that you spend 3 days and submit as an assignment is. No, if you want to do well on your dissertation, you need to dedicate the time from now, right? And acquire various transferable skills, as we said earlier on. Now, let's get down to the logistics, if you would like, of this module, right? The duration is 2 semesters. Starts now in September, well, October, finishing in May, right? So it's 2 semesters, one after the other. Okay, 40 credits, which means that you are expected to contribute or to commit yourself 400 hours during these 6 months onto this specific module. Okay, one credit involves 10 hours of involvement. Okay, now what happens during this current first semester? You will have lectures, you will have seminars and tutorials. Seminars and tutorials really the same thing. So you will have lectures and seminars That is also when you will choose your project, and during this semester you will submit your project proposal report. So we're going to have 10 weeks, 4 hours each week of contact. That makes it 40 hours. But you are also expected to contribute another 160 hours, and that's just this semester, between now and January, through independent study on your dissertation. Next semester, starting from February until May, dissertation and oral presentation and demonstration, independent study 200 hours. Remember, there are no lectures or seminars, but there is supervision time, 6 to 8 hours of supervision time, right? Who is involved in this? Myself, I'm the coordinator for computing. And when you want to email the coordinator, you use this email address here, qahe.computingprojects@qa.com, right? Teaching staff is me. And these are from last year, and I don't know if they will be involved. I presume Asim Majid will be doing the Birmingham seminar, and Ajmal Garib will be doing the Manchester seminars, but I am not sure, so please don't take me on that. Now, very, very importantly, when you communicate with us, you must use your Roehampton email address, not your personal email address, your Roehampton email address, right? And that is important because due to cyber issues, cyber threats, the intrusion detection systems of QA are very tight. Therefore, you may send us an email from your, I don't know, big muscles man at gmail.com, and it's going to be blocked most of the time, not always, by the intrusion detection system, or it may end up in the spam folder and you're sitting down waiting for a response from us and it never comes because your email never reached us. But at the same time, I want you to look at it from another perspective, right? When you get a job and they welcome you the first day and they tell you, these are your credentials and here is your company email address. Okay, company email address. Are you going to tell them, it's okay, don't worry. I'm going to use my own Gmail address. I don't like to use any other address. Or I am used to my Gmail. Are you really going to do that? Of course not. Because you have to behave professionally. So here now that you are prepared for professional life, why do you ignore one of the most fundamental aspects and you use your own personal communication means? Okay, I'm a bit passionate about that because it doesn't matter how many times I say that, students continue to use their private emails and then they complain to everybody when we don't respond because we haven't received that email. Okay, so I am saying to you, the intrusion detection system of QA is quite tight. All right. And to put an end to these, I have instructed supervisors not to respond to private emails, even though some of the supervisors don't listen themselves. But please use your Hampton email address, right? So what are we going to be tackling during this semester? We start today with a module introduction to the project process, to the module and the project process. And then on week 1, on Thursday, London, and what other days, Birmingham and Manchester, you will be discussing any areas of interest so that you can develop a project idea. And you will be working on this handout here, personal reflection and career aspirations, right? So what is this? What is this? Let's go to Roehampton. Moodle. And let's log in. And then find this module here. All right. This is the module for this semester. When you scroll down, you come to the point where it says handouts and forms. You click there, right? Just a second. No. Go to week 1. There it is, week 1. Scroll down, you come to this tutorial here. Click there, open it up. And let's have a look at this handout, right? What is the purpose of this handout? Is to help you reflect on your strengths and your weaknesses and come up with your career aspirations and a topic which is going to help you in that direction, right? So there is a bit of blah blah here, and then the first thing you do, reflect back on your academic and vocational achievements. So currently you're studying for a BSc Computing Technology. It's a BSc, and then you started whenever you started and when you hope to complete it. But you also did a CCNA, for example, which is a vocational course, which you did during that period, right? So you put whatever it is that you have academically or vocationally as education. Employment history. You put down whatever position you have been there in whatever company and the time scales. Now you can say to me, well, I've been a chef at a restaurant. Why is that important for my future career as a graduate of BSc Computing Technology? Well, when you are preparing food for customers, what is it that you're paying attention to? The flavor, health, presentation, satisfaction. So all this build up to excellent customer satisfaction, right? Being part of a team. Thank you, Zabi. Right? I don't know, Shiraz. I am not sure. It doesn't matter when you did something. Okay, maybe you were cleaning restaurants, or maybe whatever it is that you were cleaning, right? What has that? What did this teach you? Health and safety, presentation, okay, preparation for customers. So it is bringing a lot of skills in, right? Um, what other? Let's say you were a taxi driver. Many students are. What did these bring into? Again, aspects of safety, making sure your client is not afraid of your driving, um, driving considerately, consistently, professionally, um, customer service, customer satisfaction. Every company wants these skills. It doesn't matter if they relate or not to your career aspirations or to your academic direction. No, everybody needs to be at this stage in the professional life. Everybody needs to take into consideration customer satisfaction, health and safety, a lot of things. So it doesn't matter whether you were cleaning toilets, for example, they will bring something, right? Then you go on to do a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are actually internal to you, they're personal to you. Where do you feel you're strong and where do you feel you're weak? Okay. So make a list there with bullet points. Where are your strengths? Where are your weaknesses? But then below are the external factors, not your factors, but the environmental factors, if you would like. For example, are there any opportunities there that you feel you could capitalize on to help you succeed in your career? Are there any threats? Are there any threats? Right? So opportunities are what are going to help you, and if you take advantage of them, and threats is what is standing in front of you, in your way, and you need to find a way to avoid them, right? Then you continue with a continuous professional development, and that's where you say what skills you have. Let's say Python, current ability, intermediate or expert. What is your plan to improve it? And then how much time are you going to spend, a day, a week, or a month, or whatever, from to, and what is your current status? Okay, beginner, not started yet, or something like that. So there are these things to help you, ongoing, completed, not started, right? And this is actually something that it will help you if you continue populating these even after you graduate, right? Because it's important that we look back to what it is that we have achieved. After that, you have career direction, right? And specialism. What career direction would you like to have? In what area or what company? And when would you like this to happen? Yes, I would like to work for this company as a whatever position. Here's a company, here's a specialism, and short term, between now and 2 years, right? Potential project fields. Now you've done all that and you reviewed, you reminded yourself who you are, what you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, then put down some indicative topics that you can look at and let them grow in you, right? And then at the back, some supporting notes. Now, this is going to be the focus of the first few weeks within the seminars, but you do not submit this. This is preparatory for you to come up with a topic for your dissertation, right? You don't submit it, it doesn't carry any marks, but the benefit of doing this is huge, right? So I would suggest you do that, right? So where were we? All right, teaching plan, that's where we were. Then next week, we look at research ethics, legal and professional issues, and there are a couple of videos that the seminar tutor will play, and then you can discuss it. Okay. One of them is quite provocative, so I would like you to watch it with an open mind, right? At the end of the day, this is a university. We should be open minded, look at aspects that are happening and come up with new ideas, right? Then from week 3, that's when we're starting to think about how to put together the proposal. So on week 3, you look at the proposal in general, and then how you do your aims and objectives, how you research, how you do your literature review, and how you plan your project. So these 4 weeks here, the main focus is the proposal, but they will also be used for the dissertation. And you can see there are various relevant things to happen. From week 8 onwards, the main focus here is for the dissertation. So weeks 3 up to 6 are focusing on the proposal, and then 8 to 11, including the 3 to 6, are focusing on the dissertation, right? And you could see here what it is that you will be doing. And also, if you see, for example, week 8, you will be given the chance to work on your proposal within the seminar so that you can get the advice of your seminar tutor working the proposal report, finalizing the proposal report, right? Week 11, we're going to have a session on academic writing and also how you go about to do oral presentations. Now, oral presentations is approached in a way such as a professional development session where we're going to go through, if, for example, you're asked to do an oral presentation, what it is that you need to consider, how to prepare it, what are important things, okay? And what I will give you the opportunity to do during the seminar is to deliver a 3-minute pitch. 3-minute pitch. In other words, stand up. What's your name? What is your project? What is it all about? You get 2-3 minutes to talk about it, right? Now, why is this important? Is because presentations are everywhere now. Oral presentations are everywhere. You may get a job as even a programmer. Very soon it's going to come down to a point where you will be asked, can you go and see this customer and present to this customer what it is that we're doing, right? Or can you go and present, can you go and update the management using an oral presentation on the progress on a particular project? Okay, so in today's and tomorrow's work environment, it's almost impossible to avoid oral presentations, right? What happened there? Right. Now, the module timeline, right? During this semester, Monday of week 5 is the day that you submit your suggestion. So you have a month to think about it, right? You have a month to think about it. So what you're going to do, let's go back on to here, which is Moodle, right? For the dissertation. And you go on to handouts and forms. And you can see here, project suggestions form. When you click there, it opens up this form. And this is the form that you're going to use to suggest to me. Yep. This is the form that you're going to use to suggest to me what it is that you would like to focus on for your dissertation, right? So you're going to put your name and surname, your Quercus ID, which starts with 10, your university, which is really the first 3 letters of your surname plus a few more numbers, right? Your email address, both the university and the personal one. Then what course are you studying for? There it is. A few words on, like, as an indicative title. What would you like your project to be on? Then, because the dissertation is a solution to the problem, you need to say, what is the problem? You see, 100 words, that's just a few lines. What is the problem that you're going to try to solve? Provide a brief description of the proposed topic. So write a few more things about it. How are you going to develop that solution? What it is that you intend to deliver at the end of the day? And are there any legal, social, ethical, and professional issues that you need to take into consideration? We will talk about these things in several occasions during the first few weeks and even beyond, right? On week 10, you're going to find out who is going to be your supervisor. However, your supervisor is not involved with the proposal, is not involved during semester 1. The first time you're going to see your supervisor is on week 1 of next semester. Okay. So during this semester, you consider me to be your advisor, your supervisor, right? Then on week 12 or maybe 13, I'm not sure, that's when you submit your proposal via Turnitin. And on week 15, there should be feedback from the proposal on Moodle. Okay. Then during semester 2, on week 1, that's when you meet your supervisor, second semester, week 1. And that's where your supervisor gives you face-to-face, online or on campus, doesn't matter, on your proposal, what needs to be done, what needs to be updated, what is wrong, what is right, as well as discuss your ethical approval form. Everyone has to submit the ethical approval form, which really is a 2-page form, very short form, which says, this is who I am, this is what my topic is, here is a 4-5 line summary of my topic, right? And these are any ethical issues which I feel may exist. and your supervisor will look at that and either approve it or not. If your supervisor does not approve your ethics form, you cannot start your research, right? So between weeks 12 to between weeks 1 to 12, you have your one-to-one supervision session with your supervisor. At the end, you submit, and some of you may be asked to give an oral presentation of your work, right? So when you submit, we will look at what you have submitted, and then some of you will be asked to give an oral presentation, which really is something like an oral examination, right? So first semester, focus on the project suggestion form, which you must submit in a month's time. There is no weight on this, right? However, you must submit the form. Why? Because by then you should have come up with an idea what it is that you would like to do for your project. I will give you feedback, and then I will assign you a supervisor based on the project that you have chosen, right? Julian, are you suggesting that because it's 0%, you don't need to submit it? So what do you mean? All right, that's what you mean. Well, if there is, I mean, what happened previously when I had students who did not submit a suggestion, then they were not assigned a supervisor. And then they started their semester 2 without having their proposal seen by a supervisor and without having a supervisor. And you should see the major panic. Exactly. Big downfall. Okay. So this is what I'm saying because of the particulars of computing, right? This is not like business, right? For business, if you want to work on a dissertation on strategy, you could have a supervisor from any business management specialization to supervise you. But can you imagine programming? Can you have any supervisor supervise you that does not understand programming? Of course not. So we're very different from business, right? Business is you can, yes, you can propose more than one idea. And then when we discuss, when I see your ideas, I will discuss both or all of them with you, and I will give you feedback. And during the feedback, you can rethink what may be the more appropriate for you topic and start developing that. Okay. So semester 1, you submit your project suggestions form and you also submit your project proposal. Project proposal between 2 and 2,500 words. At the end, one idea per form, please. Okay. Submit at the end of semester 1, and the weight of your proposal is 15%, right? However, the value, yeah, the weight of the proposal may only be 15%, but the value of the proposal is huge. Because if you do your proposal and you do the proposal by undertaking a serious effort, you then are ready in a very strong position to start your dissertation. If you haven't done your proposal, then you don't really know what you're doing. You don't really know where you're going to go. So you start really in the second semester to do the work that you should have done on the first semester, right? Then for the second semester, you work on your dissertation. This should be between 10 and 11,000 words. You submit at the end of semester 2. If you have developed any code or any artifact or any app, you need to upload the code somewhere and then send us the link to check it. And the weight of the dissertation is 85%. So I hear you saying 85%, then I don't need to do the proposal. Well, it's not that simple because yes, doing the proposal will give a lot of value to your dissertation and help you prepare for it on time. But if you do not do the proposal, you will still have to resit it. So let's say you do your dissertation, you get 60%. 60% is a clear pass. You're going to get something like 55, 56% average. So it's passed. The problem is that even with that mark, you're still going to resit. You're still going to have to resit the proposal. So you need to submit both. You don't need to pass the proposal, but you need to submit it. You need to get at least 25% of the proposal, right? But if you get 25%, it means that you haven't thought about it at all. And as far as your representation is concerned, it is optional and depends on the work that you did and your supervisor. And this will take place the week after you have submitted, right? This is a pass or fail. So if this is 0%, how can it fail me? Well, the intention of that is not to fail you, right? So I'll come to that point shortly. This is the project suggestions form, which I have already showed you, right? Your details, the title and code, indicative title, all these is what I have shown you in the form a few minutes ago. Now, the proposal should have this structure here, right? You have your front page, title, name, whatever. Section 1 is introduction. What is your project idea? What type of project it is? Justify that is a topic that is worth you spending your time on. Give a little bit of background. Identify what is the problem that you're going to try to solve. Then you go to section 2, which is the scope, the intention, aims, objectives, and what it is that you will deliver at the end of the day. Section 3 is methodology, how you're going to approach it, what activities you will undertake, are there any constraints, are there any limitations? And section 4 is the project plan, where you identify what skills will be required for the project, what resources will be required, a breakdown of the project, work breakdown structure, a time line through a Gantt chart, and the risk register. And then references and appendices, which include the ethical approval form. Now, if I take you back onto Moodle, right, and I scroll down to where it says handouts and forms, the second item in there is project proposal, template and guidelines. So when I click there and I open this up, you will find out that the first couple of pages are really an introduction of what the proposal is all about, right? But it's also a template on how you should structure the proposal and provides guidelines on what to put in each section. So a little bit of blah, blah, the beginning, and then you have proposal specifications, how long it should be, the line spacing, the font type, the font size, the margins, right? And also name the file as your student ID, your surname, your first name, and project proposal. Unfortunately, not many students do that, right? Less than half do that, right? Most of the students submit the proposal with the name proposal. So when I go over there and I click download all, I get 50 files with 35 of them being called proposal. This is really quite problematic, right? So please put your ID there, which is unique to you. your surname, your first name, right? And if I take you to the next page, you will see the marking guidelines and the criteria. For example, the first section, introduction and project context, around 1,000 words. It should include these things, and it has a 25 marks weight. Section 2, about 400 words, should have these things, and has a 20 marks weight. Okay, methodology, project plan, summary, they must each include whatever is there. And here is the weight, right? But now you come to the next page, the third page, and you have this in front of you. So when you come back here and you click there and you go all the way to the top and you delete this, here is the cover page of your proposal, right? That's where you put your title. This is name and surname, your Roehampton ID, your Roehampton email. This is who your supervisor is, and that's the supervisor's email. And then the date that you're submitting. And then you start again, section 1. And you see what it says there? In this section, you must, and this is what we are expecting to see in section 1, right? Introduce the topic, justify it, provide in-depth focus, give some statistics, identify what is the problem, right? Blah, blah. Aims and objectives. We will cover this in 2 weeks' time. Section must include an introduction to the intention, aims, objectives, and what it is that you will deliver at the end of the day. And it's also explaining to you how you should go about putting your aims and your objectives together, how to structure them, what sort of keywords, command verbs to use so that they show what it is that you intend to do, to analyze something, all right, or to justify a particular solution, or to simulate a particular environment, right? Then you go to the third section, methodology, which explains what it is, and then it's telling you, in this section, you must include these things, right? Project plan, in this section, you must include these things, and you can see a skills table. This is the kind of skill, that's where it will be used, and that is my current capability on it. Then you go on to the next table, resources. This is the resources I will need, and this is the purpose behind these resources, and what you have, what you don't have, all right? Then you do your work breakdown structure. We will talk about it on week 6, I believe. Milestones, Gantt chart, risk register. So you need to include these things, right? And then summary section must include all these things, right? And here is your references using Harvard referencing and the ethical approval form, which we will talk about this tomorrow. Sorry, next week. Your name, your ID, the course that you're studying, the module, and your title for the project. Then give a summary, 4, 5 lines, 6 lines, what it is that you intend to do, right? When you plan to start your research, when you plan to finish your research. And you can see some declarations here, right? And to the best of my knowledge, I confirm that there's no risk, blah, blah. All right. And you undertake to report all data and findings in a responsible way. Put an X in there. Type your name, type your signature, and put a date, right? Section 2 is the section that your supervisor will fill when they see and mark your proposal, because your proposal will not come to me, right? It will be marked by the supervisor, who is the expert, right? If you want to do programming, for example, I am the last person you want to supervise you because I'm not a programmer, right? My understanding of programming is very limited, right? So you want a specialist programmer to look at your proposal, to give you specific feedback, to consider what it is that you have to do, how you say you're going to do it. So this is the declaration from the supervisor, right? So when you go to the first supervisory meeting next semester, When you get feedback from your proposal, you must also ask your supervisor to give you feedback about your ethical approval form, and you must ask your supervisor to email it back to you, signed, because you're going to put that in your final dissertation as well, right? And you can see here, on the basis of the information provided by the student, the project does not need to be referred to the Faculty Research Ethics Committee for approval, right? Or does need to be referred. What that means is that if your supervisor ticks in there, you're okay to start. If your supervisor ticks in there, you have to wait until the Faculty Research Ethics Committee looks at what you intend to do, and you have to wait for their approval if they give you their approval, right? So the way around this is to make sure that whatever it is that you say you're going to do ends up with your supervisor ticking in here, right? And your supervisor will type their name, type their signature. You do not need to print and sign the ethics form. Just type your signature there. Remember that you will submit it on Turnitin. Therefore, that is the proof that it's you who submitted it via your Blackboard account, right? This is to be completed by supervisor in case you want to change the direction, not the project, but the direction of your project. And also you need to fill in this section 4, right? So here you need to choose carefully which ones are you going to, right? So this is the ethics form. So that is there for you, right? And what I say to the students, download it and use this file as your template, right? You can go up to 12,000, Julian, right? So, yeah, that's the proposal. What about the dissertation now, right? So you see, you start with your title, some statements there, and then the main body, and then the back of the dissertation. So similarly, with a proposal, if you go back onto Moodle and you come into handouts and forms, look at this dissertation report template and guidelines. Click there, download, open, and here's your template again with guidelines again, specifically for the dissertation, right? Some introduction, what is the final year project, a bit on specifications, then how you can go about sectioning it, how you can write a good dissertation, some hints, then bit of bad English, how to illustrate it, how to use diagrams, tables, images, and how to put the caption there, checking it if it looks okay, right? And then finally, if you remove these 6 pages, you come to this point here, which is the front page of your dissertation, right? Similar to the one for the proposal. Then the abstract. This is what is an abstract, and it's telling you that abstract is not a summary, right? But you have to have an abstract, so you put it here. Then if you want to acknowledge anybody's contribution, you can do it there. You don't have to. Table of contents, list of figures, list of tables, abbreviations if you have any, and your chapter 1, right? And similarly to the proposal, chapter 1 should include the following sections, right? All these things, right? And you've seen that table before. Then you go to chapter 2, which should really be focusing on the problem, right? Again, this will depend on the dissertation that you're going to do, whether it's academic, consultancy, or practical. Yeah. So chapter 2 is all about the problem. What is the problem that requires a solution that you will develop, right? And you can see if this is research based, this is what you can see here, should include the following sections. If your dissertation is research based, this is what you must include in chapter 2.
If it's consultancy based, this is what you must include. And if it's practical, if you're going to develop an app, for example, this is what you must include in your chapter 2. Then you go to chapter 3, and this is about methodology and the project plan. This is a development of chapters, of sections 3 and 4 from the proposal. The difference is that for the proposal, you are proposing what you are going to do in the future. Whereas for the dissertation, you are discussing what you did in the past. All right. And that's where you are comparing. For example, if you planned that your research will take you 2 weeks and it took you 4, you need to show it in the Gantt chart for the dissertation, right? And you can see here, if research based, you need to have these, consultancy based these, and practical based all these. Chapter 4 is all about your contribution to solving that particular problem, right? It's all about the solution. If your topic is research based, this is what you do. If it's consultancy, this is what you do. If it's practical, this is what you do. And this is chapter 5, really, not 6, conclusions and recommendations, right? And it's telling you this is what you must know. This is what you must include, right? Summarize the work you did, conclude on your findings, recommend after you've done the work, and identify is there something else that you could have done, right? References, appendices, and the ethical approval form. Okay, so it's all provided to you, in here. Now, how are you going to be marked for the dissertation? There you are. Click there. And you can see here again, and all this is available to you, right? So just based on all these, I find it impossible to believe that a student can actually fail their dissertation, yet they do, right? You can see abstract in chapter 1, 10 marks, must include these things. Chapter 2 about the problem statement must include these, is 20 marks. Okay, and you can see what is included. The only differentiation is here, which is not that major actually. Academic, which is the same as research, consultancy and practical. You can see they all have introduction. They all identify the purpose here. And then a few of these are specific, but then you could see critical discussion on the solution devised or critical discussion, and then whatever is appropriate for this one. Then comparison of findings, contingencies faced, reflection, discussion, and summary. Okay, so everything is there for you, right? So the template is already there. Now, the question which everybody has is, what's going on about the oral presentation? Why some of us will have to do it and others won't, right? Okay, so after you submit, the supervisor will look at what you have submitted and will have to decide whether they should give you an oral examination or not, right? So the oral examination, which could take place online, that's when you prepare a PowerPoint, for example, if you want, and you talk for 10 minutes, and then you leave 5 minutes for questions and answers, right? Which is a pass or fail, right? Then students may or may not be given an oral examination, depending on the following, right? If your dissertation is borderline pass or fail, for example, you get 37%. 37% is fail, isn't it? But you could say, oh, it's so close. Why don't you pass me? Well, help me pass you. Come to the oral examination, which I'm going to set for you. Convince me that you deserve to pass. And this is the purpose of the oral examination. For those students who are borderline cases and they wouldn't pass, and when we look at the dissertation, we cannot really find extra marks, then here is an oral examination for you to convince me that you deserve to pass, right? To give me, as the supervisor, confidence to pass you because you convinced me that you deserve to pass, right? So this is not against you, right? Now, another reason why a supervisor may ask for an oral examination is if they have suspicion that the dissertation is not your own work. Okay. So they will set up the oral examination. You go over there, you introduce what you did, you answer the questions, no doubt. But if you're not able to discuss what you've done, if you cannot answer any questions about what you've done, then the next stage is academic misconduct. Okay. Then you are not, if you want to be sure that you're not going to get an oral examination, then what you do, you, through the process of supervision during semester 2, you give confidence to your supervisor that it's your work by meeting the supervisor, by attending supervision sessions, by being prepared for them, by showing your supervisor that you're progressing. Therefore, the supervisor knows it's your work, knows that you got involved, knows that you deserve the mark, right? So now you may fail, and if your fail is poor, you're not going to get a chance for an oral examination. Because if you get 25%, how can you shift the 25% into the 40? You can't, right? So be aware that this is a tool that we may have to use to make your life uncomfortable, for example, but at the same time give you the chance to convince us that you're worthy to pass. Okay. Any questions, guys? Any questions? Somebody said earlier on they have. I'm just scrolling back. There will not be a list of projects. Okay, so there is a question here. There will not be a list of projects, but in the discussion that we're having, you will find out that I will be throwing the odd suggestion. Now, about this Thursday class, did you receive an email